If I woke up tomorrow with insulin resistance, these are the exact steps I would take to reverse it. Insulin resistance is the real issue behind stubborn weight gain, fatigue, cravings, high blood sugar, and eventually type 2 diabetes. And the good news is, it can start improving a lot faster than most people think when you focus on the right steps in the right order. Hi, my name is Jared Linder. I'm a registered nurse and health coach, and several years ago I reversed my own type 2 diabetes after being told medication was my only option. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact blueprint I would start following today if I had to start all over again. What would I eat? What would I stop eating? What are the habits that move the needle the fastest? And how can I know that my metabolism is actually starting to heal? When I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I remember sitting in the appointment feeling completely overwhelmed. The doctor's words sounded like a life sentence. I was told diabetes was progressive, that it gets worse over time, that medication would be part of my life forever, and that there was nothing else I could do that would help. And if you've been diagnosed with diabetes or prediabetes, you may have heard something very similar. Take the pills, eat a balanced diet, manage it the best you can, and things will eventually get worse. Well, I didn't like those answers, so I started digging deeper into the research and the physiology behind what was actually happening in my body. And I learned something important that no one had ever mentioned. Type 2 diabetes doesn't begin with high blood sugar. It begins with insulin resistance. And when you start addressing the root cause, everything else begins to change. Blood sugar improves, energy improves, weight becomes easier to lose, and in many cases, medications start to get reduced or eliminated. So let's talk about the exact blueprint I would follow if I had insulin resistance starting again today. Insulin resistance develops when the body is constantly flooded with sugar and refined carbohydrates. Just think about the foods that show up in most diets every day. Foods that focus on volume, inexpensive ingredients, and dopamine. Things like soda, juice, bread, cereal, pasta, snacks. Every time food hits your bloodstream, your body releases insulin to handle the glucose spike. When that happens over and over, day after day, your cells eventually stop responding to insulin the way they should. And that's insulin resistance. So the first step I would take is dramatically reducing the foods that create the biggest insulin spikes. That means removing things like sugary drinks, candy and desserts, bread and refined grains, ultra-processed snack foods. And you don't have to be perfect overnight, but lowering those spikes immediately reduces insulin demand and gives your body space to start repairing insulin sensitivity. Once the biggest glucose spikes are gone, the next question becomes, what should meals actually look like? Most people trying to eat healthy with diabetes are building meals around carbohydrates. Oatmeal for breakfast, whole wheat sandwiches for lunch, whole wheat pasta or brown rice for dinner. But even whole grain versions of these things still spike blood sugar. Now, protein, on the other hand, behaves very differently in the body. It slows digestion, it stabilizes blood sugar, and it keeps you full longer. So the second step I would follow is building every meal around protein first. A simple target many of my clients find helpful is 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Foods like eggs, Greek yogurt, chicken, fish, grass-fed beef, or cottage cheese. When protein becomes the foundation of your meals, blood sugar becomes much easier to control. And if you want a simple roadmap that walks through these steps in order, I put together a free guide. It's the same framework I use to reverse my own type 2 diabetes and the exact approach I use with my coaching clients. You can download it for free in the description below. Now, there's one habit that quietly keeps insulin elevated all day. Every time you eat, insulin rises. And if you're constantly grazing throughout the day, snacks, drinks, healthy bites here and there, insulin never has time to fall. And chronically elevated insulin is what drives insulin resistance. So the third step I would follow is structuring meal times. Instead of eating all day long, I would focus on 2 or 3 real meals per day and minimize snacking in between. Eating like this gives insulin levels time to fall between meals and helps restore insulin sensitivity. Now, here's one of the simplest tools for lowering blood sugar, and almost nobody talks about it. After you eat, glucose enters your bloodstream. In a healthy body, insulin helps move that glucose into your cells. But when you're insulin resistant, that process becomes less efficient. And here's something most people never hear. Muscle can absorb glucose without insulin. When they contract, they pull glucose out of the bloodstream and into their cells. That makes movement a powerful metabolic tool. So step 4 is simple. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes after meals. Nothing intense, just walking. By using the largest muscles in your body, you help them pull glucose out of the bloodstream and lower post-meal blood sugar spikes. And those spikes are one of the major drivers of insulin resistance. But if you want long-term insulin sensitivity, one thing becomes extremely important. Muscle is one of the largest glucose-using tissues in the body. After the age of about 30, most adults lose 3 to 8% of their muscle every decade if they're not actively maintaining it. Less muscle means fewer places for glucose to be stored, which may make insulin resistance worse. So step 5 for me would be building and maintaining muscle. This could include strength training, body weight exercises, resistance bands, dumbbells. Even 2 or 3 sessions per week can dramatically improve insulin sensitivity. But what if you're doing everything right with food and exercise and your numbers still aren't budging? This is the next place I would look. Sleep. Even one night of poor sleep can increase insulin resistance. Cortisol rises, fasting glucose climbs, and cravings increase. Sleep isn't just rest. It's when your metabolism actually repairs itself. So step 6 is protecting sleep. Prioritizing things like 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night, a dark room, limiting screens before bed, not eating for about 3 hours before bedtime, and a consistent wake-up time. Better sleep improves insulin sensitivity faster than most people expect because our bodies heal and reset while we rest. So how do you know these changes are actually working? A lot of people start making healthier choices but feel discouraged because they're not sure if progress is actually happening. But your body gives feedback. Blood sugar trends start improving. Energy improves. Waist circumference starts going down. So the final step I would follow is tracking a few simple markers: fasting blood sugar, waist measurement, and energy levels. Tracking progress lets you see the momentum. And when you start seeing those small wins, it becomes a lot easier to stay consistent. So if I had insulin resistance again tomorrow, this is the exact blueprint I would follow. Remove sugar and refined carbs. Build meals around protein. Stop constant snacking. Walk after meals. Build muscle. Protect sleep and track progress. These habits don't just manage blood sugar. They address the root cause of insulin resistance. And if you want to see one of the fastest ways to start lowering your blood sugar naturally, watch this next video where I explain why most exercise is a waste of time when it comes to lowering your A1C. I'll see you there.